Honourable members, good morning, support staff and also representatives of the department and Cape Nature. Welcome to our meeting this morning. Perhaps you would like just to see that it is me and not a tape recorder speaking. Honourable members, this morning's meeting I expect not to be long. We have basically two items on the agenda. The first one is to decide as to the appropriate public participation process to follow for the two bills that are currently in front of us and the NCOP. And then if we could approve the minutes of our last meeting before the provincial parliament goes into a constituency period. So from my side, a special word of welcome. And can I just quickly ask that the members first and thereafter other representatives just quickly introduce themselves. Can we start with Honourable Maseko?
Thank you very much, Chairperson. My name is Matlodi Maseko and I'm the member of this committee.
Thank you and welcome.
Deirdre Bartman, member of the committee.
Welcome, member. It seems to me, procedural officer, as if these two members are the only ones currently in the meeting. We did receive an apology from Honourable Heron, representing the Good Party in this committee.
That is
correct. I do not
Chairperson.
see Honourable Maran yet.
No, neither do I. So
Thank
those
you.
are the only members presently in the meeting, correct?
And 3 out of 5 does make us quorum.
That's 100% correct.
Yes, thank you. And can I then first ask representatives from the provincial parliament, would you just introduce yourselves, please?
Good morning, everybody. This is Andre Leroux, Senior Legal Advisor.
Welcome, Mr. Leroux.
Morning, Chairperson. This is Johan Vermeulen, the Senior Procedural Officer.
Welcome, Johan.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. My name is Themba Keswa, Manager PEO.
Good morning, Mr. Keswa, and welcome to you as well. Thank you. And then I wish to welcome our procedural officer. You have heard a voice before, Ms. Shireen Nikak. Does that deal with everybody from the provincial parliament? Can we then go over to the Department of Environmental Affairs?
Good morning, Paul Hardcastle.
Good morning, Paul, and welcome.
Good morning, honourable members. This is Marlene Laroche.
Good morning, Ms. Laroche. Can I just say your voice is quite faint, so please, if you find it necessary later on, please see that the microphone is a little bit closer to you. Ms. Versh.
Good morning, honourable members. It's Annick Rousseau from Department of Environmental Affairs and Development Planning.
Welcome to you as well. Does that deal with all the representatives?
From the
and
department,
then from Cape Nature, yes.
Good morning, Coral Burrs from Cape Nature. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ja, en goeiemôre. Good morning, Ernst Baart from Cape Nature.
Welkom, Ernst. Baie dankie. Good. So, is there anybody else that is also online and that we could welcome as part of this meeting? No one? Thank you. So that then brings us to the consideration of the public participation process. Thank you to those members that did attend the presentations by the National Department of Environmental Affairs on the Forestry Amendment Bill, as well as on what is the National Environmental Management Amendment Bill. And it's now up to us to decide as to what process of public participation we are going to follow. And just to give some guidance, I've asked Ms. Niekerk, who is quite passionate about this aspect of our work, to perhaps just beam up on the screen a few options that are open to us in terms of our public participation process, how to communicate with the public, etc. Ms. Niekerk, would you be so kind to just assist us in this regard?
I shall do that, Chair. You should see the document in front of you now or on your screen.
Good, thank you. Members, are you happy that we ask Ms. Niekerk to guide us in this regard? No objection? Thank you.
Yes, Chair.
Okay, so the one possibility is to also use this virtual platform for public hearings. And my request has been that if people wish to make an oral presentation to us, that they also support that through a verbal presentation. Would that be fine as one option, that we invite the public and say they can join us at a future meeting and in that way also give us some input from their side? Okay, so that's the 1.1 there on your screen. Then the second option would be 1.2, written comments, where we advertise and invite the public and interested and affected parties and people to make written input by a certain date.
Sorry,
and the
Chair.
date that is, yes, Honorable Maseko.
Chair, I'm trying to raise my hand so they can recognize me. I'm trying to see the screen. I don't have the screen here to look at the options that you are talking about. Do we have them on there? There you go.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It's now that I can see it.
Okay.
Thank
I
you.
wonder what
You
changed.
can go on.
Thank you. Okay. So the second option is the option then of the written comments. And Ms. Niekerk, who has looked at our parliamentary program, proposes the 24th of July, which is probably just over 5 weeks from now, as a due date for written comments. Unless you come in and can I lower your hand, Honorable Maseko? Good. Then the third one is a new option, and I've been told that the experience of other committees have been that not many people make use of this, but it's also for people to submit not only via email, but also via WhatsApp, if they want to send in voice notes, or preferably also again in writing, that this is another option in which they could communicate with us. Obviously, I think those are the three most generally used options. Anybody that would like to comment, are you fine if we go along with those three ways of receiving input? Honorable Bachman, I see your hand is raised.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you for yourself and for the procedural officer for putting this together. I think I've had a bit of a jump start in some of the other committees, also with yourself as well, with how some of the other legislation has been going through. And I know that even though the WhatsApp line hasn't really been used, for example, the division of revenue, I think that the public participation on bills will probably depend on how controversial a bill may be or may not be. And I think that given the current COVID pandemic, the current crisis, that we should try to almost like amalgamate all of the different possibilities for public participation for people so that we have as many avenues as possible. I know that this might create a little bit of extra work, but I do believe that this will allow for public to be able to really have more than just written opportunities, because some people might not necessarily be close to a computer or internet to type something, but they might be able to pick up their WhatsApp if they are in an area with forest and have an input on this regard, and just send you a quick note on that WhatsApp line with their respective details. And then perhaps the procedural officer could then write, I don't know what the word is in English when you, transcribe the voice note for us so that we are able to see what the respective input is. And I think this would also assist with those persons who will struggle with writing. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. So it seems to me, if I summarize that correctly, you are in support that we go all three options or adopt all three options as a committee for receiving input. Good. Honourable Maseko, your hand is up as well.
Okay, thank you very much, Chair. I think I'm in support of Member Bartman because of the concern, I think, from the other committee that you mentioned in there. I think it was in the local government, if I'm not wrong. We agree that the WhatsApp, it will enable, even in the rural areas, mostly the abnormality that we have is that we have to check the bill to whom gets impacted with that bill and the availability of the resources, where they are, what is it that they can use to do that. And I think if we do the WhatsApp, I think each and every person that would love to contribute, it will be easier than if you don't have a laptop, but you have the cell phone that you can do the voice note. If you cannot type, then the procedural officers can help us in really making sure we get as much contribution as we can for this bill. That is important to the communities in Western Cape. Thank you, Chair.
Good morning and welcome, Honourable Maran. I see your hand is raised as well. Is this unanimous? You can unmute yourself.
Chair, mornings.
Good morning.
Mornings, Chair. Mornings to all members present. Mornings to everyone present. Chair, yeah, as you have said, I've just joined. I've struggled with connection on my side, so I've missed the three, Chair, which options which we should use. I've just heard the Honourable Maslori saying that she agree, but also spoken about WhatsApp. The other two, maybe, Chair, that for me to also be on par and to agree whether we should go with this three only. What are those three?
Honourable Maran, can you see the written document on the screen? Our procedural officer is sharing her screen with us. It's the virtual public hearing. Then the written comments, as in the past, be it email, mostly, I presume, and then the oral submissions via WhatsApp. Those are the three options that we are proposing.
Chair, I don't have a problem with that. I'm glad that we are using both WhatsApp and written submissions. There are those that want to submit documents with 34, 40 pages that don't want to make use of WhatsApp. And then there are those, for instance, that wants to leave a voice note or a message on WhatsApp. So it will cover both. So I'm fine, Chair, with that.
Thank you. Unanimously agreed. Can we then move on? Now, obviously, we need to advertise and communicate with the interested and affected parties and other members of the public. And here, again, as I almost want to say, the tried and tested way is to put advertisements in some of the newspapers. And perhaps Ms. Nika can just scroll down. These are some of the newspapers, and you see their circulation figures as well that are distributed in the Western Cape. The proposal is that we do not go for national newspapers. Apparently, the NCOP has done that when they were awaiting public comment. Would you be happy
Sorry,
with
Chair.
adverts? Yes. Honorable
I see
Maseko.
member Bartman's hand is up.
Yes, thank you. Both Honorable Maran is still up. Perhaps he would like to drop his hand before his arm gets too sore. Honorable Bartman.
Thank you, Chair. I'll wait until you're done. I just wanted to congratulate the WCPP.
Okay, good. So these are the papers, also the regional papers, and eventually we must just consider, obviously there is a cost involved. I know many of these newspapers rely heavily on public advertisements. Then the next option to consider is an option of radio, which we don't usually use, but it is obviously also a possibility. And then there's the social media, and then obviously also specific invitations to stakeholders such as the municipalities, our tertiary institutions. We have quite a wide range of entities that involve themselves with the environment. And there you can see what a very seriously long list of potentially affected parties there are. So can I propose, Ms. Shirin, Nikak, if we go back, that we go for the print, that for now, we first leave the radio and TV until you have a chair with a face for TV, and that we then go on to individual invitations to affected parties. Can I get the feedback? And Ms. Bartman, since your hand is up, well, won't you respond first, please?
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I don't think we have to put the advert into every single newspaper, but perhaps between you and the procedural officer, you could perhaps identify an Afrikaans, English and Xhosa newspaper that have high readership that people read regularly. In terms of radio, we don't necessarily need to have a radio advert, but perhaps I would like to suggest that as you as chairperson through the Media Office of Parliament puts out a media statement perhaps, and that you add a voice note that the Media Office can send to radio stations, so that then if the radio stations then wish to broadcast it, then they do have it. Social media I'm fine with, because the WCPP already has a way of dealing with social media, and perhaps you can then send us all the link to the respective documentation and voice note and social media, then we can all members of WCPP send it out to our constituencies as well. I'll also just add my previous comment in here now quickly. Chair, I just wanted to congratulate the WCPP. Since COVID, and all the legislation that has come before the WCPP so far, I think we are truly the only provincial legislature, or the only legislature actually, including the national and NCOP, that have ever used WhatsApp as communication for public participation. And I think that sometimes we underestimate what a giant leap that actually is. And while people aren't really using it at the moment yet, I do think that in the future it will pick up depending on the content of legislation. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Honorable Maseko.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I was just going to say which member Dedre has covered me, that we are going to make sure we leave it in your capable hands with the procedural officer, Mrs. Van Niekerk, to select those printing media that you know that it will make an impact or it will be picked up by the communities out there.
Good, thank you. And then Honorable Maran, your comments?
Yeah, no, Chair, I'm also fine. The means of communication, Chair. The newspapers, I think, Chair, if for instance look at, someone has spoken about isiXhosa. Now, if I look, for instance, at City Vision Khayelitsha, it got more readers than the Cape Times,
yes,
the Weekend Argus, and And so you can continue, Chair. Even more than it seems the burger.
Yeah.
So if we have to look, Chair, for isiXhosa and to be written isiXhosa, then I agree. Let's leave it up to you and the presiding officer, Chair. So I'm fine. Just lastly on this issue, Chair, the Honourable Bartman have said that this legislature is the only one. She said, I think that this legislature. So I think does not necessarily mean it is true, Chair.
Chair, can I raise a point of order?
Honourable Maseko.
Chair, I'm just interested because I see your hand is raised. So who's going to recognize you?
The Chair.
Honourable Maseko, I recognize you.
Yeah. So, Chair, no, thank you. No, she was speaking about your end, Chair, and maybe I was the one who was supposed to recognize your end. But I'm fine by the means of communication. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. And Honourable Maseko, I trust you will give me an opportunity to go on to the next point.
I will definitely do that. You can go on, Chair.
Thank you. Much appreciated. Okay, thank you very much. And then it seems to be then, again, we agree, and you've actually given the procedural officer and myself the mandate to choose, depending on readership, depending on costs, which regional publications we will also use, as well as obviously the provincially wide or metro-wide newspapers. Then the next one is also a proposal that we make use of the WCPP under the social media. It included the WCPP's website, but there's also the Public Education and Outreach Division of the Provincial Parliament. And the proposal is that we also ask them to assist in conveying this message to stakeholders that there's an opportunity for them to assist us by making input. I presume there's agreement on that. Honourable Maseko, your hand is up.
Yes, Chair, I think I didn't drop it, but I can somehow use the opportunity since you, yes. Chair, I do agree with the public education outreach, but the interesting one is how are they going, because before we used to send them to go out there, but now it won't be the same system. How are they going to do that, just for the interest sake, to inform us in that, to have that knowledge of how is it going to operate now?
Okay, I think that's a good time then to just ask, is it Mr. Themba Keswa to just inform us about their work?
Yes, thank you so much, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody, the members, everybody in the committee. Yes, Mr. Chair, things have changed now because of the COVID-19 and the regulations around the public gatherings and so on. So we'll have to change here now, as the members just said in there. But what we will do at this point, what we can assist with at this point, is that we will send out to our stakeholders and just popularize this particular bill that are coming to our stakeholders. Send emails, inform them that the bills have been advertised, like you were saying, you have been saying, on the newspapers and so on. Sensitize them on the closing date for the inputs, emphasize that they can do everything via oral or written, or even the WhatsApp, like it's been said. But also, Mr. Chair, we've got a good relationship with the CDWs at the local government level. We work with them a lot. So for those, for example, who cannot be in a position to access a computer or to do things online, we can just work through with our CDWs to be able for them to also participate. Maybe we can put a box in a library or in a hall for people to make written inputs and be put in there, and then the CDWs can be able to assist us to bring them back to the committee for them to be noted. Those are the things that I think we can assist with at this point, Mr. Chair.
Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kesra. Then, honourable members, I think if we adhere to what we've just adopted, that this provincial legislature would be in compliance with section 116(1) of the Constitution, which expects of provincial legislators to do its business with due regard to, amongst other things, participatory democracy, accountability, transparency, and public involvement. So I believe we would have adhered to the Constitution in that regard, and I thank you for that. Can I just ask our procedural officer, is there anything that you would like to add before we step off, let's call it the public invitations to make input to the committee on these bills?
No, Chairperson, I think the document before the committee is quite a comprehensive one and it covers all aspects. I'm just under the general option, just so that the committee knows that we will try and place these advertisements into all the publications on the 20th of June or as close to that date as possible. I would also just like the committee members to note that in terms of public participation and giving ample time for written comments, this committee is actually allowing the public more than a month in order to submit those written comments to the committee. So there's enough time for that. And then also just to draw the committee's attention to the fact that the negotiating mandates are due at the MCOP towards the end of August. So between the 24th of July, the closing date for written submissions, and the end of August, that gives the committee sufficient time, or myself as the procedural officer, sufficient time to consolidate all the input and then to send it to the National Department as well as to our legal advisor if necessary for comment. So I think the timelines are pretty good for this bill, and we're allowing sufficient time for the public to do their submissions and for our National Department to respond to any concerns the public may have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nikak. And therefore, members, can I also ask that if you have questions in the meantime, please communicate with our procedural officer and indicate, what your questions are. And then I just want to already ask Cape Nature, the department, as well as the legal advisor, that when we consider the public's input, that we would also be asking of you to also give us input from your side as to, your views on certain of the amendments contained in these bills. Good. So, honourable members, if that is fine with you, I think we can say that we've dealt with agenda point 1, the discussion on the public participation process to be followed in terms of the National Forest Amendment Bill and the National Environmental Management Laws Amendment Bill. Honourable Maseko.
Okay, I've been raising my hand and you're not recognizing me before even Mrs. Van Dinkerk gave us that report. I wanted to talk to Mr. Temba about the CDW because my concern is that not every municipality has got the CDW. So there will be municipalities that are being left behind. Can we take a decision to send the communication to the municipalities so that they can put on their notice boards, or they can add on the communication that they are spreading during the COVID-19, because they do have some communication that all the time they use, just to slot that in their communications?
Absolutely, Honourable Maseko. You will see that municipalities are also listed quite high up on that long list of stakeholders. And you're quite right, many municipalities do have parks and recreations and is even responsible for some nature areas. So absolutely, your comment is valid, and fortunately, municipalities are already listed. Then you can drop
Chair.
your hand, and then Honourable Maran. Thank you.
No, Chair, no. I also wanted to check earlier because I've missed some of the slides. The question now that, or the proposal made by the Honourable Maseko. I wanted to second that, but you are saying now that municipalities are part, Chair, of those who've been identified to communicate, because they are closer to our communities, they are closer to the public. Chair, last, I just wanted to say, Chair, is that if we look, for instance, at the time frames, our comprehensive plan, how we want to communicate, I think also, Chair, that we have covered ourselves. When maybe someone wants to take us to court, and we can show that our process to communicate with the public was really, it was far, it was comprehensive. We have tried to communicate with everyone. So when someone wants to take us to court, I think that we will be covered in terms of the process that we will be followed. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Maran. Honourable members, we then move on to agenda point number 2, if it's fine with you. And that is the consideration and adoption of the draft committee minutes of the 19th of May 2020. Can I ask that our procedural officer puts that on the screen as well? There you see it. I do hope all of you see it now. Interesting. It seems as if sometimes it takes a little while to appear on some people's computers or screens. Good. There you see the attendance of that meeting. That's for the 19th of May. Can you scroll down? Particularly there, when it comes to the briefing. That was the briefing on the annual plans by the Department of Agriculture and CASIDRA. Good. And then our resolutions were captured. Thank you. There you see it on the screen. Good. Can I get a proposal that we adopt this as an accurate version of or set of minutes of our meeting?
Move to adopt, Deirdre Bartman.
Thank you, Honourable Bartman. Is there support for that proposal?
Support, Matlodi Maseko.
Thank you, Honourable Maseko. So the minutes have been adopted. That brings us to the next one, and that is the committee tracking document as at the 12th of June, that is today. It has also been distributed by email with the other documents to yourselves. Can we adopt that committee tracking document as also correctly reflecting on our previous resolutions?
Sorry, Chair, can I see where there is Department of Human Settlements? What does it say?
On that document? Can you?
Chair, yes, Chair. On that document, I saw the Department of Human Settlements. Can I see what did we need?
I'm not quite sure, Ms. Maseko, where did you see that?
Just go down. Move. Okay. It's fine. It's fine, Chair.
Okay, so the chair of the Committee on Human Settlements says it's fine. Can we therefore get somebody to propose that we adopt this as well?
Yep, let me summarize, propose that we adopt, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Maseko.
So, Chair, there's nothing about human settlement in the document.
Yeah, I've got 2 documents on my screen of the laptop. That is why I say it's fine. Member Maran.
You must be careful. The meeting of the public protector was cut short yesterday. No, Chair, I want to support.
Thank you very much.
Member Maran, you must be clear when you talk about these things in agriculture.
Order.
I was saying, Chair, that meeting of the public protector was cut short yesterday.
Thank you, Honourable Maran. We will not cut you short. You've got more rights here. Thank you. And then, honourable members, with that, are there any resolutions or actions not contained in our first agenda point that you would like to propose at this point in time before we close the meeting? None. Ms. Niekerk, is there anything that you would like to say apart from wishing all members a wonderful constituency period?
No, sure. Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say thank you to the members for their decisiveness in this process. And as you correctly said at the beginning, it is something that's very close to my heart, and I am passionate about the public participation process. But then also just to let members know that the NCOP Select Committee this morning has sent through, well, they've completed their process on both these bills. So they have received written comments from members of the public and specific stakeholders regarding the content of the bill, which they have now shared with our committee or sent through to me, and I will then forward that to the committee. I also just want to let the members know that Cape Nature specifically has sent through a document which I've uploaded onto the folder in MS Teams, which expresses their opinion on the two briefings that took place on these bills. The one briefing on the 2nd of June and the other one on the 9th of June. So members can just go and have a look at those documents if they so wish. And then also in the previous round of public participation with the NCOP, our provincial department has submitted written comments on these two bills. Well, there was no need to, submit a written comment on the forestry bill, but on NEMLA, definitely. And that information has also been uploaded into the relevant folder in MS Teams if members wish to have a look at it. All right. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Niekerk. Honourable Maran.
Chair, yes, although we have said that we're going to leave it in yourself and the procedural officer's capable hands, but just for you maybe to report back to this committee at a later stage.
Good, we can make a resolution. I think it will, in any case, form part of our report back as to, which stakeholders were contacted and we responded, and also list the newspapers that we've utilized. Okay, good. With that resolution, I presume everybody is in support of that. Is there anybody else before I close this meeting that feel that they need to contribute, that they would like to bring something under the committee's attention at this point in time?
May I, Chair, I think, if you allow me?
Honourable Maseko.
Yeah, I just want to thank the officials for being with us this morning. And I think they should have been allowed to go for quite some time. So we appreciate their presence. And Chair will be releasing them after I finish talking now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Maseko. I appreciate you've taken the words from my mouth. I appreciate, and also honourable members. I know some of us will be in various meetings, seeing one another during this constituency period. But to those of you, I wish you well, and I'm looking forward to our next meeting, which will probably then be scheduled towards the end of July. A special word of thanks to Ms. Niekerk and as the officials, as Honourable Maseko has said, and I wish you all a good day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.